Hi, today I'd like to talk about something else. Generally speaking, I'm going to talk about Pauline Hanson's rise and her related rise with the populism around the world. Demographics aside, Pauline Hanson and her American counterparts and European counterparts such as Donald Trump and Marine Le Pen are a demonstration of the fact that a lot of the traditional left or right-wing parties have failed the Australian people or failed their main populace. In the past 30 years, I believe, since the Raging Revolution and the reduction in Keynesian thought and Keynesian planning, there has been a slow rise in inequality. But this has only been exacerbated since the great financial crisis in 2008, and the recovery was not as well as it should have been. For example, Barack Obama continued the Bush-era tax cuts. David Cameron and Francis Hollande continued the policies of Tony Blair and Nicolas Sarkozy, and Kevin Rudd, despite being quite a decent prime minister in my opinion, was not perfect either, and he had his own problems and lack of, how should I say this, commitment. Granted, Kevin Rudd was a good prime minister, and so was Julia Gillard, but they had problems, and neither of the two fully committed or endeavored to commit to fixing the situation, more like putting a band-aid on it. Now, back on topic, Pauline Hanson has just risen in the polls, and there has been a lot of examples of such. For first and foremost, her party has now gotten a new deal with the Western Australian Liberals, who have decided to preference the One Nation Party in front of the Nationals. Now, this is important primarily for two reasons. First and foremost, the Western Australian Nationals are actually more committed to left-wing thought and have been more cooperative with Labour and a lot of the left-wing parties in Western Australia than the Nationals, strangely enough. I know that's not a sentence I would have expected to have said, but it's a true one nevertheless. The Western Australian Nationals have been mavericks on various occasions, fighting against a lot of tax cuts, and they have been posted in Labour government cabinets a few times, which demonstrates how different they are to the national. This demonstrates the fact that the Liberal coalition is fracturing to pieces over the past few weeks or months or years, if you would prefer to go that far back, and that they are looking for other options. And on a related note, my second point is that George Christian has decided to resign as the whip of the Liberal coalition. And this is very important because by resigning as the Liberal coalition whip, he has more freedom to follow through with whatever policies he wishes to believe in, whether it be wanting to commit to a banking commission or threatening to one, or to actually daring Malcolm Turnbull to become more committed to rural interests. And Pauline Hanson has shown her true colors in the past few weeks by being a staunch Liberal supporter. Now this was something I was skeptical of a bit because the Liberal Party in the 1990s decided to do everything in their power to demolish her, including jailing her, and I would have believed that Hanson would have held a grudge. But it seems that she hasn't not, or pushed it aside for more power, and this is dangerous because it gives a lot of the Liberal coalition broader freeway on social issues because they know they can fall back on former Labour voters for this. And this is important because Labour has three main groups that they have to always target in order to win elections. That's the traditional union-based and white working class. These are generally 30 to 50-year-old men or women in part-time or unionized jobs, and they generally vote for Labour in huge numbers. The second is the green inner city cosmopolitan, and these are liberal. I wouldn't say upper middle class so much as educated or beyond high school or secondary school educated young people, but they are far more liberal and left-wing than what the Labour Party is willing to commit to, and the Labour Party is slowly bleeding these votes out to the Greens. But the third group that the Labour always has to commit to, and the age actually goes into quite a lot of detail about this, is that is One Nation voters. One Nation voters are our inner regional voters who vote for Labour in droves because they don't trust the National to follow through with their interests. And of these Labour voters, they are far more social conservative, and I would even go so far as to say a bit more racist than Labour themselves was, than the unionists or the white working class in the urban areas are. So what does this mean altogether? Well, it means that there's going to be a shift to the right, at the very least, on social issues, because Labour recognizes that Labour and the Liberal coalition recognize that they're going to have a lot more freeway. So what does the Independent Ocean go on to follow with? Well, here's the thing. Like I said, she was meant to be a joke, but these strong leaders are following through with, as the article goes on in the Independent, Vladmir Putin's strategy. They want to make an authoritarian or conservative democracy where the party in power has nearly unlimited resources and almost zero checks and accountability in the nation state. We've seen this happen in Japan, and I've talked about this during my Fukushima video. So altogether, we're seeing a rise of this populism, and the right-wing populism is anything but friendly to the interests of the majority in the nation state. And Pauline Hanson is anything but friendly to rural interests. Sure, her policy position have been, or her policies actually, on our official website have been somewhat moderate, whether it be on strangely rural interests, education, internet, and technology. But once you look into the deep and gritty details about how she and her party vote, they vote more often together with the Liberal coalition than the National. So what can I tell my viewers to do, or what would I recommend? Well, don't vote One Nation. I would recommend that if you prefer an alternative to to the Liberal coalition, who have been screwing or have been ruining the livelihood of the lower half of Australian society and are selling out rural interests to mining corporations, I recommend voting for Bob Katter's party. I recommend voting for the Nick Xenophon's team, or as they now call it, the Best Party. And I would actually recommend voting for either Jackie Lambie's group. Altogether, there's a whole plethora of right-wing parties or conservative parties that do not sell out interests to the big corporation. And I would recommend that my readers and my viewers look into this. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you liked the analysis.